My groupmates and I will explain about heavy metal pollution. So I will start first with objective of heavy metal pollution. So first, the objective of studying heavy metal pollution is to protect human health and the environment from harmful metals such as lead, mercury, cadmium, and arsenic. These metals are toxic and can cause serious health problems, even in small amounts. Another objective is to identify where heavy metals come from, such as factories, agriculture, waste disposal, and natural source. Knowing the source helps in controlling and reducing pollution. Next, the study also aims to understand the effects of heavy metals on humans, animals, plants, and ecosystem. Heavy metals can build up in the body and in the food chain, and it will causing a long-term damage. And lastly, the objective is to find effective ways to remove or reduce heavy metals from polluted water, soil, and air, so the environment can be safer and pleasant and future generations.
Now I will explain about the introduction of heavy metal pollution. Heavy metal pollution is one of the most important environmental problems encountered in the 21st century because of the toxic, durable, and bioaccumulative nature of heavy metal. Heavy metal like lead, cadmium, mercury, chromium, and zinc have been recognized in the environment to be indestructible and will persist for a long time. Over time, they settle in bodies of water, soil, microorganisms, fish, and in the body, causing long-term ecological disaster and health issues. The majority of heavy metal contamination is attributed to anthropogenic sources such as industrial influence, mining activities, agricultural application, and urban runoff, leading to much higher contamination levels in aquatic and terrestrial environments across the globe. Heavy metal have associated neurological disorders, organ damage, reproductive impairments, and biodiversity loss in aquatic life. Therefore, efficient removal of heavy metal is necessary to decrease their concentration within acceptable levels.
I will tell everyone the causes of heavy metal pollution. So, the heavy metal pollution is mainly caused by human activities, although natural sources also contribute. One major cause is industrial activities such as mining, smelting, and manufacturing. This industry releases heavy metals like lead, mercury, and cadmium into the air, water, and soil. Another cause is agricultural activities. The use of chemical fertilizer, pesticide, and herbicides can introduce heavy metals into the soil. These metals can then be washed into rivers and groundwater by rain. So, next, improper waste disposal is also an important cause. Because, example like throwing away batteries, electronic waste, and industrial waste without proper treatment allows heavy metals to leak into the environment. In addition, burning fossil fuels, especially coal, release heavy metals into the air, and these metals can later settle on land and water surface. Finally, the natural process such as volcanic eruption and the weathering of rocks can release small amount of heavy metals into the environment.
Okay, now I will explain about the effects of heavy metal pollution. First is my industrial activities. Heavy metals are a major source of pollution from industrial activities. Industrial such as mining, metal processing, electroplaning, chemical production, textile, leather tanning, and battery manufacturing produce wastewater and solid waste that contain toxic metals like lead, cadmium, chromium, mercury, nickel, and copper. When this waste is not properly treated, the metal can flow into rivers, lakes, and nearby soil. Over time, this industrial discharge increase heavy metal levels in aquatic environments, posing risks to ecosystem and human health. Next is mining and mineral processing. Heavy metals are commonly released into the environment through mining activities. During mining and ore processing, rocks containing metal are brought to the surface and exposed to air and water. This exposure allows metal to slowly wash out into nearby soil, rivers, and lakes. In some cases, acid mine drainage occurs when sulfate minerals react with water and oxygen, producing acidic water that increases the release of heavy metal. Even after mining activities have stopped, waste minerals and tiny left behind can continue to release heavy metals into the environment for many years. And the last one is agricultural practice. Heavy metals are also released into the environment through common agricultural practice. Fertilizers, pesticides, and soil conditioners often contain small amounts of metals such as arsenic, lead, and cadmium. When these products are used repeatedly, the metals can slowly build up into the soil. Rainfall can then wash them into the nearby rivers, lakes, and streams. In addition, using contaminated irrigation water or fertilizers made from sewage sludge can further increase the amounts of heavy metals in agricultural soils.
Next is removal methods. First, physical methods. Physical methods remove heavy metals by separating them from water or soil without involving chemical reactions. Techniques such as filtration and membrane separation work by trapping metal ions based on particle size or pressure differences. Another method is sedimentation, where heavy metal particles settles at the bottom and can be removed easily. These physical techniques are commonly applied as a pre-treatment step in wastewater treatment plants before further purification. Second, chemical methods. Chemical methods involve adding specific chemicals to convert heavy metals into less soluble forms. One common approach is chemical precipitation, where dissolved metals react and form solid compounds that can later be removed as sludge. Ion exchange is another chemical process where harmful metal ions are replaced with harmless ions using special resin materials. Overall, chemical treatments are highly effective, especially when the wastewater contains high concentrations of heavy metals. Third, biological methods. Biological methods use living organisms to remove or reduce the toxicity of heavy metals. In phytoremediation, plants absorb and accumulate metals from contaminated soil or water. Microorganisms also play a role by converting heavy metals into less toxic forms through natural biological processes. Although this method is environmentally friendly and cost-effective, it usually requires a longer treatment time to achieve results. Lastly, adsorption methods. Adsorption removes heavy metals by binding them onto the surface of solid materials. Adsorbents such as activated carbon and biochar are widely used because they have very large surface areas. Heavy metal ions attach to these surfaces and are effectively removed from the water. This method is simple, efficient, and particularly suitable for treating water with low heavy metal concentrations.
Heavy metal pollution is a serious environmental problem that mainly comes from human activities such as industrial processes, farming activities, fuel burning, and poor waste disposal. Industries like mining, factories, and metal processing release heavy metals into the air, water, and soil. In agriculture, the use of fertilizers and pesticides can also introduce heavy metals into the environment. The fuels are burned. When fuels are burned, metals such as lead and mercury are released into the air and settle on land and water. These heavy metals do not break down easily, which means they can stay in the environment for a very long time. Over time, they build up in soil and water and are taken in by plants and animals. This process is known as bioaccumulation, and it can become more dangerous as the metals move up the food chain. Exposure to heavy metals can cause serious health problems in humans, including damage to the brain, kidneys, and other organs. Children are especially at risk. Heavy metals also harm plants and animals by affecting growth, reproduction, and survival, which can disturb entire ecosystem. To reduce heavy metal pollution, several removal methods are used, including physical, chemical, and biological techniques. Among these, biological methods are more environmentally friendly because they use plants and microorganisms to remove metals naturally. However, the most important solution is prevention through proper waste management and stricter control of pollution sources.
In conclusion, heavy metal pollution poses a serious threat to the environment and human health due to its toxicity, persistence, and ability to accumulate in living organisms. These inorganic pollutants are being thrown in our waters, soils, and into the atmosphere due to rapidly growing agriculture and metal industries, improper waste disposal, fertilizer, and pesticides. And this will give a big impact not only to human but also environment, biological function and growth, and causes many serious diseases such as cancer. By attaching to active sites on enzymes, this metal may block their activity and interfere with the body's metabolic processes. Additionally, they can cause oxidative stress, which produce reactive oxygen species that harm DNA, protein, and cells. So each individual should take their responsibilities by not throwing heavy metal blindly. Therefore, effective monitoring, strict regulation of industrial activities, and the implementation of proper waste management and remediation strategies are essential to reduce heavy metal contamination and protect environmental sustainability and public health.